Larry Bell is the founder of Bell's Brewery. It was a hobby back in the 80s, and now in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the nation's 7th largest craft brewery, and he's with us now. It all started with a 15-gallon soup pot, as we understand, and used to deliver everything yourself. And here you are on the other end of our AT&T line. Did you get over to Comerica Park to see the Cubs?
I did not. Good morning. However, I will be over there tonight for the game.
I figured you wouldn't miss it. After all, you went. Was it last season that you went to every single Cubs home game?
Yeah, I made all 81 home Cubs games last year. I guess I was the only season ticket holder they knew that did it, so that was a lot of fun. It's a full-time job, though.
Well, I was going to ask you, was it harder to do than you thought when you set out?
There were some weeks that were some homestands. When you have a 10-game homestand, and it started on Monday, and now it's the next Monday, and you're walking back to Wrigley again, you kind of shake your head. But it's, every time, as soon as I got into the park, everything was kind of fine. I did wind up sitting through the longest game in Cubs history, 6 hours and 27 minutes till 1:30 in the morning. But we won in the bottom of the 16th, so it was a lot of fun.
It figures, doesn't it? It had to be your year.
Yeah.
I've never. You're gonna laugh at me. I've never seen a game in Wrigley Field, but I went to the Billy Joel concert there last summer, and that was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I've seen a concert there as well. It's kind of my church, and obviously the park is under some extensive renovations starting this year. So,
do you like those changes or not?
I think they were necessary, and I think the Ricketts family, who's the owner of the Cubs, they've been very sensitive about the historic nature of Wrigley, and I think the new jumbotrons that they put up have been very tasteful, and it's much preferred that the Cubs stay there in Wrigleyville. There's a reason they call it Wrigleyville, rather than moving out to the suburbs. I think it's being done very well, and it's just, it's necessary. The Cubs need to move on into the 20th century to be a team that can be out there to compete.
Well, it's not the first time. You and I are old enough to remember when the idea of putting lights at Wrigley Field was abhorrent to some people, right?
Yep. And, like you say, things move on. And, now we have a lot of night games. And, unfortunately, it seems this year more than any year I can remember that the schedule, not just for the Cubs, but for a lot of teams, is much more erratic and lots of different start times. And I imagine that's difficult on the players when every day you're starting at a different time.
Yeah, I would think so, too. I'm reading a story about you in the Chicago Tribune, and it says that you not only showed up for all those games, you showed up in spirit. Now, I don't know if you wore a jersey and the whole get-up every time you went like that, but you sure did for this particular occasion.
I have an alter ego that goes to the games sometimes. The last few years haven't been that easy for the Cubs, and a few years ago I decided to invent a guy named Walter Hiltebittle, and Walter has a big get-up that he puts on for games, and he has a lot of fun out there. The ushers enjoy seeing Walter, so I needed to do something. When you're 30 games under 500, you need to find some things to make the games a little more entertaining sometimes.
You know what? You're what I'd describe as a beautiful madman. You really are. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, he's wearing white shoes with red stitches, just like a baseball, when he goes to the game, a blue cap commemorating Wrigley's 100th anniversary, a Cubs jersey from the 1930s, and he would show up, and what's the character's name again?
Walter Hiltebittle.
Yeah, Walter Hiltebittle.
And Walter kind of has glasses that might resemble Harry Carey's.
Beautiful. I love that cartoon. They keep the cartoon of Harry Carey up there. I don't know if they did this year, but they did last year up there with the WGN symbol on the press box and so forth. And can you get a Bell's in Wrigley Field?
Unfortunately not. We sell in
all around it, I bet.
Well, in a number of parks around the country, certainly at Comerica and at Cellular Field in Chicago, where that other Chicago team plays. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to crack Wrigley yet.
So
we're working on it.
I'm sure you got to send Walter in there to make the sale, probably. Huh?
That might not help.
Did you sip an old style at all 81 of the home games?
I might have, depending on who my play date was and what vendor they might know. You'd be surprised, to be sociable. I'll drink what my play date is drinking. So, but going to all 81 home games does not mean that I go drink beer at all 81 home games. I enjoy just going watching baseball too.
Did you overnight in Chicago most of the time during like a 10-game homestand, or were you driving back and forth?
Well, I live both places. I live in Kalamazoo and I live in Chicago. My wife works in Chicago, so I live 4 blocks from Wrigley Field.
Oh, wow.
I walk out my garage in the alley down to Waveland and turn left on Waveland and go to my gate at Wrigley. I can hear the organ from my house.
Oh, God, how romantic. I love it. I wish I'd known where your house was that night the Billy Joel concert got out, because I couldn't get a train or a taxi, or, man, we were on foot for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. But I'll find you next time. So when you make it to Comerica, which has really none of the charm of Wrigley Field, I'm sorry to say. Some of it, maybe. But you root for the Tigers or the Cubs?
I'll be rooting. When it comes down to that, I got to root for the Cubbies.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'm rooting for the Tigers in the American League, and they're class act. They've been a great organization for a while now, and I think it's a fun rivalry for the Cubs and Tigers. And Tigers will be coming over to Wrigley Field for a couple of games, I believe, in August. So I'll be going to those this year, and I'm predicting that we split it tonight, and that the Cubbies come away with a victory.
Okay, is that Walter talking or Larry? See, you'll never know. The great Larry Bell. Hope to see you soon, sir. Thank you.